Welcome to this webinar on the Floral Compost Activator with me, Katrina Wolff, for the Aotearoa Composters Network, October 2025. I have been using this method since January this year, so it's not quite a whole year. And I am just mesmerized, in love, obsessed, and after being a biodynamic gardener for 15 years, it's like, oh my goodness, maybe I don't need biodynamics. So a little bit about me for those who haven't come across Blue Borage. I have been teaching biodynamic composting and gardening since 2018 as Blue Borage. And over the last year, I came to a point of realizing I needed to move house and not being able to put biodynamic preps into the ground. And so, in a state of sort of anticipation of grief and not being able to practice biodynamics, I was talking to a few people around the world. I was in a call with some people in America and was told to look at Maye Bruce's work, which I'll share tonight. And it has been the most amazing gift to dive deep into a study of the flowers in their own right, in a very simple method. And lo and behold, this work was accepted into the International Biodynamic Research Conference. So I went and presented in England, and so I'll share some of the feedback from there. Other things this year, I've been studying raranga, so the Harakeke fiber is something I've become obsessed with, and crystals, sound healing, all this kind of woo. And I've always loved churches and cathedrals, that there's a new curiosity around the intersection between biodynamics and mainstream Christianity. So this is a very different presentation to the last one I did in April on indoor composting. So there's a paradox with biodynamics, how like it's amazing, the results are fantastic, and there's this but, which for a lot of people is it's hard to get hold of the animal parts. Some people have ethical concerns around using animal parts at all. The lunar calendar adds a sort of layer of complexity that puts people off. Having to wait 6 months between making chamomile sausages and dandelion pillows. It's 6 months is a long time if you want to make fantastic compost this week. The preparations are expensive to buy, which is another barrier. And all in all, a lot of my customers have felt there's a sort of a layer of exclusivity that makes it inaccessible. And I've always recommended that people just grow the herbs, just get to know the nettle, the chamomile, the valerian, and lo and behold, that instinct was sound. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But I think I just wanted to sort of put this here, that whether you're into biodynamics or not, I think we can all agree that what the world needs is biodiversity, natural healing beauty, an abundance of pollinators, flowers, indigenous plants with rongoa healing for people and for the soil, and accessible composting methods that are simple but go deep, that work with tricky inputs like fish, meat, dairy, bread, and citrus. I think we probably all agree that we want herbs and flowers growing in amongst our vegetables. We need to beautify our urban farms and our composting operations. And I would personally love to see creativity and intuition encouraged in a composting community. Deeper question here, are we ready for dystopian biodynamics as the social structures around us continue to get more and more chaotic and troubled? And when I look at news from Gaza, I know that that could be us one day. And no matter where I am in the world, I would love to be able to look at what's growing and make soil and grow food. So some quick insights from the conference. I delivered my presentation on the 1st of September, so it's really a month, 6 weeks ago. So trends that I saw of an emphasis on transdisciplinarity. So different fields coming together in the interests of top quality food and looking after the land. Spirit of place is coming through as a common theme. Metaphysical literacy, so all the woo is now up for research. Vegan biodynamics, so there are more people around the world looking for ways of doing biodynamics without the animal parts. The water research, oh my goodness, the water is just mesmerizing. And here in Aotearoa we have Vida Austin's work. She is world famous. It's just I don't know, to see her quoted and her photos up on big screens, it's like, yeah, she's a Kiwi. The sound healing, eurythmy, just such a buzz. Now, I'm doing a webinar next week for the Biodynamic Association of New Zealand, free for anyone to come along and hear more detail about the favourite papers that I saw. But this was my favourite quote from Julia Wright. To what extent do we wish to comply with a bankrupt, outdated, scientific establishment at the expense of integrity and authenticity? And I think within the Composters Network, so many of us have our own kind of geek out, deep dive fascinations that I would love to see each of us like thrive in those spaces and push back against some of the other stuff we're being told to do. I won't say any more there. So Maye Bruce, she lived in England in 1920. She bought a piece of land. She needed to improve the soil. She came across biodynamics, and her feedback to what was then the anthroposophical agricultural movement was it was too complicated. And she asked them to come up with something a little bit simpler. They refused. So she said, fine, I'll go do it myself. And they parted company, and she was on her own. And she didn't know where to begin. She used the same 6 plants, which caused a little bit of a rift. And she said, well, it wasn't Steiner who gave the world the dandelion, and continued. She just, this determination is amazing. The book is beautiful. It's available for free online. And the phrase that she was guided by was this, the divinity within the flower is sufficient of itself. So within that, we don't need the animal parts. The flowers are so powerful. And what blows me away is she lived in Sapperton, which is, I think, the little blue dot. And the conference was at the Royal Agriculture University, which was the red dot. So her land was 7 minutes drive from where the conference was. And I was in touch with the owner of the land. It's now a healing retreat center, and I've been invited to go visit. So I have to get back there somehow. And yeah, I can't share too much yet, but there's a cool potential collaboration with the university. So the method, in short, is, I forgot to mention back here, the flowers we use are yarrow, chamomile, stinging nettle, the leaves, oak bark, dandelion, and valerian. And we're lucky we can grow all these plants in New Zealand. I've expanded it to a total of like 50 different herbs and flowers, and I'm having so much fun. But this is the method that she taught. So first up, pick and dry the flowers, the leaves, or the bark. Then you take a pinch of each plant, add honey, water, and wait 24 hours. Dilute further, and then pour that into your compost piles, your worm farm seedling trays, compost toilet, food scrap buckets. I'm just like geeking out on where else can we try this? What else can we use it for? You can layer as you build your compost, or you can pour into holes in the compost. And I think even a kindergarten child could make this, which is very different to the traditional biodynamic compost preparations. Now, the cool thing is the results, and I'm still just going like, how does this work? It's magic. And part of me doesn't even sort of want to know the science. I know I need to figure this science out. So 6 case studies we're going to race through because I'm mindful of time. So batch number 1, very first batch, was food scraps that I took in from a local boarding school. It was Christmas meal, fish, meat, dairy. It stank. I've got a small carbon cycle box, and it was middle of summer. I didn't have fresh grass clippings. Watering the garden was a hassle, so it was getting smelly. At the time, I was using biodynamic CPP, biochar, fresh herbs, Agni hot ash to manage the odor, but the floral compost activator took the smell from like 7 out of 10 down to a 2 out of 10 within 36 hours, which is cool. End of February, the deceased chicken. It's the worst smell I have ever had in the garden in my whole entire life. She really, 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 really smelled bad. And the floral compost activator added to the hot compost pile, the odor was gone, completely gone within 3 hours. Like, I don't get it. Then Harakeke compost. If anyone tells you that flax can't be composted, send them my way. So these are all the scraps from my raranga classes for 1.5 years now, all composting in a hot compost pile. But I took 2 batches side by side, treated one with a floral compost activator using native plants that a rongoa practitioner told me would work with the Harakeke, and the volume of finished sifted fine crumbly soil was double in the same amount of time. Peach pits I had separate, and there were fruit flies and maggots. Added a special blend and they disappeared over a couple of days. So it wasn't smelly, but it was like, you know, that feeling when you open a compost pile or a worm farm and the fruit flies come up in your face, just to be able to stop that overnight, really. Is fun. Then Oranga, this was a soil story with a cafe and their event waste. So I had this composting in a 23-litre food scrap bucket, chicken bones, bread, rice, cooked food, leftovers. The chicken smelled, there were maggots. It was up to that 7 out of 10 kind of, this is a problem smell. Made a floral compost activator, and overnight it went down to a 2 out of 10. The maggots vanished. This next one is very, very cool example of a inner city shopping centre. The food scraps from the food hall, smelly, and over the course of a week, from one turn to the following visit, the odour shifted from like a 7 out of 10 down to a 3 out of 10. And in addition, there was a cockroach issue there, and I used the nature communication skills I've been practicing, had a chat with the cockroaches, the composters and I had a chat with the cockroaches, and my suggestion was they just kind of move on or move away from the active box. I don't know if it was the floral compost activator or the nature communication session, who knows, but cool outcome. So potential applications for this method. I'm on my backup computer. Now I'm on my actual computer, which has a funny line going down the screen. So I'm going to look over there at my backup. So the composting in tiny spaces, like to be able to compost meat indoors and have no odor, I think is pretty cool. The smelly compost piles in densely populated areas, schools, businesses, cafes, places where there's food safety, hygiene issues. If we can remove the odor, speed up the composting, I think that's amazing. Then the problematic feedstocks like harakeke, citrus, meat, cooked food, there will be a blend that will help with those situations. Oh, I used it in an empty plastic food scrap bucket last week, and it was just like a curiosity. Like I wonder if it would take away the smell. I'd emptied the fridge from some stuff that had gone moldy and disgusting at the back, and the smell was gone. Mortality composting. So either in a farm setting, or if anyone was to get into the composting of pets as a service, I think this would be useful. Humanure composting, disaster management, and then the use of specific herbs for specific use. So I think so many of us are doing much more than just waste management and food production, and the healing trauma and landscapes, resolving unfulfilled legacies, ancestral lineage healing, decolonization work, nature communication, geomancy. This is all kind of spiritual environmental engineers. And from the Huaparakure verification paperwork, how do you elevate the mana of Hine Ahuone? And this Floral Compost Activator is a tool to do just that. So the images there, I have the jars on my meditation table where I light a candle and work with the ancestors. I've got the crystals there, I've got the tuning fork doing the sound healing, and it's all of these extra elements. It's almost like working on me physically on a soul level as well as working with the compost. So how to get involved? I would love for everyone in the ASEAN to become a research site, share your experiment if you'd like to have a chat. I am running lunchtime learning sessions online at the moment. They're once a week and small numbers so we can go deep into questions with your work or your composting. And then over on Substack, we've got the Flower Project, which has been going since June with my research partner in Canada. So I do voice note mini podcasts. We've had 2,100 downloads of those audio recordings, and then I do weekly Zoom calls, and we'll look at community events. We're waiting for a funding application we put in with an organization in Sweden, and oh my goodness, if we get it, then we're set for the year and all of this can be free. So self-paced online learning, I've got a $5 download on my Ko-fi shop, and the link for all of this is with this QR code. And then my signature online course, The Art of Composting, it's got a chapter in there, and then there'll be a new course coming with a workbook and a deep dive into this method. But goes without saying that I would love to come and run workshops. It's easy for me to get to Hamilton, Auckland, but I will travel. I'd love to get to Wales. So I think that's the sort of 15 minutes I had planned. We've got time for questions if anyone has them. And I haven't had the chat open or to see if there's feedback, but if there's no questions, there's one more screen. I'm often talking about marketing, and this is the highest reach ever of anything I've ever put on LinkedIn, 7,500 impressions talking about school compost at Tipene with carbon cycle composting. So for people that say LinkedIn is stuffy and dry and boring, please talk about composting, because it's really fun to see just so many people reacting and you know, like with all the greenwashing that's out there, this is real, the work that we are doing.